We are live. Welcome to the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, June the 6th. Lee Hayward here. And today, as always, I'm going to be hanging out answering questions about fitness, nutrition, building muscle, losing fat, and getting in your best shape. So if you have any questions or topics of discussion related to fitness and nutrition that you would like to discuss, or have me discuss, I should say, feel free to type those questions and topics of discussion into our chat window, and I'll do the best that I can to help you out over the course of our video chat today. So before we get into it, I just want to make sure that this is coming through loud and clear, and you can hear me and see me and all that good stuff. Let us see. All right, seems to be coming through. I think so. Fingers crossed. Coming through loud and clear. Appreciate it, Lee. Thank you. David saying, yes, it is. Thank you, David. Much appreciated. We have John joining in. Hello, John. Glad to have you joining in. Hello, David. Absolutely. Different background. Yes, I'm in my living room. That's where I'm to right now. Yeah. And I'm just here to get out of the office for a minute because my office is a bit warm and stuffy. So there's a little bit more airflow here in the living room. And it's for us here, it's a warm day. So just wanted to change it up a little bit. Yeah, absolutely. And right now I'm home by myself. My wife and son are visiting family, and I'm going to be joining them very shortly. As soon as I finish up this video chat, I'm going to be heading over there to visit family for dinner as well. But while I can actually be out here in my own living room, I said, hey, I'm going to go out in the living room because normally this, Harvey and his friends are running around crazy in here, and I'm kind of cooped up in my little tiny office. So it's nice to enjoy the peace and quiet and comfort of home. All right. Who do we got joining in? Let's see. As you're popping onto our live stream, please introduce yourself. Let me know. And if you're if you're new to the video chat, welcome. I always like to welcome new people joining in. Yeah, warm in Canada. Damn. Yeah, we do get some warm summers here, right? We certainly do in certain areas. Yep. And this morning I went out for a bicycle ride and had a great ride. Beautiful morning, nice, warm, and sunny. I actually posted some photos and a little video clip up on my Facebook page. So for friends over on Facebook, you've probably seen that. But got in a 123-kilometer ride this morning, and it was nice because I left the house at shortly after 5 a.m. and it was warm enough then that I could be in t-shirt and shorts, and got out and had a great ride, met up with some friends of mine, and just a really great day on the bike. Thoroughly enjoyed it. So took advantage of the nice day and the warm weather for sure. And so one of the things I want to discuss now in our video chat here today, I mean, obviously we're going to be just answering questions and stuff that you guys have submitting during our live stream. But one of my personal coaching students, Bruce, he sent me an email and wanted some suggestions for what seems to be elbow tendinitis. Based on his email, that's what it seems to be. But he does a lot of physical labor work for a living. And he finds that in his bicep tendon in the elbow area, he's getting a lot of pain. And he's kind of wondering, what should he do to rehab or alleviate that? And when it comes to, issues like that, one, it would be nice to get it checked out, right? So if you can see like a physiotherapist or a doctor, or someone who can really give you a good overview and kind of let you know what you have done, that would certainly be helpful. But a lot of times you can kind of self-diagnose this. And if you're feeling pain, especially on the inside of the forearm area, right? Like that's usually what's known as golfer's elbow. It's a tendinitis that's in the inside of the forearm, just below the elbow. If you're feeling it on the outside, right below the elbow, that's known as tennis elbow, tendinitis out there. And then, of course, you can have other kinds of strains and discomfort, throughout anywhere. But those are two common ones for elbow tendinitis. But in Bruce's situation, again, I'll have to double check next time I'm doing a coaching call with him to chat. but he just sent me an email and wanted some suggestions. So I just said, you know what, it'd be a good little topic to discuss here on the video chat today, because it's a common one that a lot of people are going to deal with. You know, aches and pains and tendinitis issues. I've dealt with it on and off for years, and sometimes it flares up. And when it flares up, it can really limit your training, right? It can make you feel weak, can make certain exercises very uncomfortable or just unbearable to the point where you can't even do it. You can't exert any force in that particular position. And how I've worked around tendinitis issues in the past is, first off, you have to be aware of it and realize you can't work through the pain, right? You just can't suck it up, buttercup, and man up and say, hey, I'm going to just no pain, no gain. Like, that's just going to set you back, right? You can't do that. You have to acknowledge, okay, we have this tendinitis issue. We have to work around it, right? And there's no other way. And so the first thing that I would do is any exercise that causes pain or discomfort, stop it, right? I don't care if it's a key exercise in your workout or one that you're trying to prioritize. If it causes pain or discomfort, stop doing it. So for example, like if standing barbell curls causes pain and discomfort to that tendinitis area, don't do standing barbell curls. If rows or pull downs or anything, like whatever it is, don't do it. But you may be able to find other variations that you can do instead. So I'll give you a prime example. When I have elbow tendinitis flare up, especially if it's golfer's elbow, very often a curl with a palms up grip, like a barbell curl or dumbbell curls with a palms up grip, is too painful. But I can sometimes do hammer curls with a thumbs up grip, right? So I do dumbbell curls, or if you can get the a rope curl, like a low pulley cable with a rope attachment, in that hammer curl position. Very often I can do that without aggravating the tendinitis. But when I do it with palms facing up, that aggravates it. So you might want to try around and just see if you can find different positions, different hand grips that feel good for you. So for example, maybe if you have some tendinitis issues when you're doing tricep work, for example, maybe, straight bar push down or close grip bench press or something like that, it's not going to work. But you might be able to do an easy curl bar, or you might be able to do the rope or some other thing like a V bar, or, maybe you won't be able to do like a close grip bench press, but you might be able to do a dumbbell press or something along those lines. Like you might be able to find some variation that will allow you to work around it. And it's so unique when it comes to tendinitis issues, because that repetitive plane of motion where you've got the tendinitis, when you work in there, it's going to cause a lot of pain. But sometimes if you just change it ever so slightly, again, just literally change the hand position, change the width of the grip, either wider or narrower or something like that, change the angle that you're doing it. Sometimes that just activates different muscles, tendons, and ligaments, and you can then perform the movement, still work the major muscle groups that you're trying to do, still kind of get the general training benefit without aggravating that tendinitis injury. So that's the one thing that you can do, is try and work around it to the best of your ability. And if you can't find any workarounds, then just leave it out, right? If in doubt, leave it out, right? And just kind of let this heal up on its own. Another thing that you can do as well is some different exercises for the forearms. Hand gripper work, especially, go very light on this, but light hand grippers can sometimes help to alleviate that or help to strengthen those tendons. Another thing, wrist curls, both regular wrist curls and reverse wrist curls can sometimes help. Again, work within your pain threshold. If it causes pain and discomfort, don't do it, but see if you can do those movements. And there's another one that I like to use as well. It's a rotational wrist exercise. And this, I actually have a video up on my YouTube channel demonstrating this one. But what I do for this, it's in fact, for that video, I'm just thinking, if you do a search for like Lee Hayward tennis elbow or Lee Hayward elbow tendinitis, you'll probably find those videos that I'm talking about. They're older videos, but they're still good ones. But one that I get some of my coaching students to do is we get a bar, like maybe a cable attachment bar, like one you would use for tricep push downs or bicep curls, for low cable push downs or cable curls, and grab the end of that bar. So maybe, it's only a short bar, but grab the end of it and you can literally rotate it this way. So you have the resistance of the bar and it's kind of like swings back and forth, and just rotate it. And that rotational can help to strengthen the rotational muscles in the forearms and then the elbows, and that very often can help to stretch and work and rehab any tendinitis issues. That's something that I've done, and it was actually an exercise that I learned in rehab when I tore my biceps. It was one of the exercises that the physiotherapist had me doing to help strengthen the tendons again. So those are some movements that you might want to try if you do have elbow tendinitis issues. And just curious for any of you watching this right now, if you have had tennis elbow or elbow tendinitis, let me know, because it's kind of a very common issue for sure. All right. Comment there, John, saying, Mark, smelly bells, strong sleeves are terrific for elbows. Yeah, you can get compression sleeves for knees and elbows. I mean, Mark Bell, I haven't used his particular ones, but I mean, you can, I'm sure they're good, but you can even go in on Amazon and places like that and just search for elbow sleeves or compression sleeves, and they'll provide some support for the joint, right? Same thing for knees. If you have any knee pain, you can wear knee sleeves. Elbow pain, you can wear elbow sleeves, and it certainly does help, right? It can provide that extra support. And another thing too is it helps to keep the joints warm. And that's key. Anytime you have any aches, pains, or injuries, keeping the joints warm will help to improve blood flow circulation and make it more comfortable. Yeah, good stuff. All right, let's see. What kind of questions have we got coming through here today? Let's see. David saying, do you think that ice bath thing, or sorry, do you do that ice bath thing? Just interesting. Does it work? I used to be really into the Wim Hof method when I first learned about it, right? I really took the plunge, literally and figuratively, and did the breathing exercises, did the cold exposure. And you know what? I actually found it quite helpful, and it was a fun challenge. It was a fun mental challenge, if you will. Now, I haven't really practiced it. I do from time to time. It's like the breathing exercises and the cold exposure to a degree, but not as adamantly as I was. Like I was literally doing this religiously day in, day out, especially in the wintertime. I used to do a lot of cold exposure outside in the wintertime. And, it can help, but you have to look at it from the bigger picture perspective. Like if you're trying to, like, what are you doing it for? I mean, from a personal development, building self-discipline, willpower, strengthening your motivational muscles, building character. I mean, all those kind of things, absolutely. It's certainly going to help with that. As far as like fitness benefits, like in terms of building muscle, losing fat, is it going to have any major impact there? Not really. I mean, it might have marginal benefits, but it's not significant. For like, no, put it this way, nobody's gonna get ripped and jacked because they do ice baths and cold exposure. I mean, it can help to strengthen your immune system, help to improve circulation, and of course strengthen your willpower and stuff, which indirectly those characteristics and can carry over to help, but it's not going to physically build muscle or physically burn fat or anything like that, right? It's so you have to look at it like, is it really worth it to you? If you've never done it before, I would, encourage you to try it, just to experience it, to have that appreciation for it. And you don't need to go the full-on ice bath. I mean, you could start off just getting a cold shower, right? Just go into your shower, flip it to cold, and just experience that. Now, depending on where you live, cold might not be very cold, right? Here in Canada, especially in the wintertime, cold is cold. Like it is freaking freezing cold. And I had to build up to even just handling pure cold water, especially in the wintertime. Now, in the summertime, the pure cold water is manageable. I mean, it still feels cold, don't get me wrong, but it's not as extreme or, like, making you gasp for air, when you first get that shock, I guess, of the cold. But that's a great place to start. Just start with cold showers, or if you want to fill up your bathtub with cold water, same thing. You can do that. You don't necessarily have to go out and invest in the full-on ice tub that you can get. I mean, like even Costco sells these inflatable ice tubs, and I know some people get these big barrels and, giant buckets, if you will, to fill up with ice water. I mean, if you enjoy it and you want to pursue it, hey, by all means, invest in it, but you don't need to go that route to try it. Right? Start with a cold shower. Right? Start with that first. And, if it's something you want to pursue, then yeah, if you want to go into the whole ice bath tub and investing in it, and go for it. Personally, I wouldn't want to, because not just the physical cost, but it's the space. I mean, this is a big freaking tub, and where are you going to, keep it to and stuff? Like, it's just going to be kind of cumbersome and cluttery. So if I want to do cold exposure, cold shower is fine for me, right? Or hey, get outside in the wintertime or something like that. But there is benefits to it. I mean, but again, it's not a must do, put it that way. Like, it's not going to make or break your health and fitness. All right, who else we got there? David's saying that he has elbow pain when doing pull-ups and push-ups. Gotcha. Well, some of those tips that I mentioned earlier may help with that as well. All right, hang on, guys. I'm going to get me a sugar-free fizzy pop now. Sugar-free ginger ale. Kind of wet the whistle. Let's see what else we have there. Key high. I know I'm butchering your name. Key high. When starting my bench press workout, I lower the bar slowly on the first rep after on-racking, almost as if I'm not in control. However, the rest of the reps feel normal. What could be the cause? Are you warming up properly? And when I mean warming up, doing several progressively heavier warm-up sets, or are you just kind of jumping into your workout weight? If that is the case, then I would recommend warming up. And for me, when I start my bench press, I literally do a warm-up with the empty barbell. That's set number one. Not only is it to take the muscles and joints, tendons, and ligaments through the full range of motion, but it's to make sure everything is set up right, make sure the bench and the uprights and everything are set up to where I want them to be. So first set is literally the empty barbell. Then I'll probably put on like a couple 25s, 95 pounds total, do a warm-up set with that. Then go 135, do a set with that. Then go 185 and keep pyramiding up set by set, increasing the weight gradually set by set until you get up to your top working weight. And if you do that, by the time you get to your top working weight, you should be in the groove and able to on-rack and handle the weight normal. But if you're just jumping into your working weight right from the get-go, which is a common mistake that I see a lot of beginners make, that's probably the reason why. It's because your joints and body are not acclimated to the weight. So you need those progressively heavier warm-up sets to condition yourself and to get everything firing. I mean, it's physically you have the strength, right? Like, let's just say your top working weight is 200 pounds, right? I mean, physically you probably have the strength. Just go in there, bench press 200 pounds. But it's not smart to do that. Like, you want to start off small and build it up, right? Warm up, progressively heavier warm up sets. And that's going to improve your technique. It's going to dramatically reduce your risk of injury. And it's just going to get your body and mind in the groove so that when you do get to your working weight, you're ready to go. And there's none of this hesitation or feeling unstable or insecure under heavy weight. So that's what I would suggest. But if I'm totally off base with that, like maybe you are already doing your warm-ups and everything else and you're having trouble, just let me know, right? We can elaborate on this more in the comment section there. Let's see, we have Jose's joining in. Hope everything's going well. Question: when doing flies, does it make a difference what hand position is used? Yeah, generally speaking, with a fly, like I'm assuming you're talking about like a chest fly, you want to have like palms together. So that like have a slight bend in the elbows. So like don't lock out your elbows, have a slight bend and keep your hands together. Now, some people might try doing them different angles. I find that just places a lot of weird stress on the shoulder. Like I find I actually get more activation in the chest if I keep my palms together. This is generally where most people will have them, the dumbbells parallel to one another. More often than not, that's the way most people will do their flies. However, If that causes pain or discomfort, and you find having your hands in a different position feels better, then try it. I mean, it's really an individual thing. Like what I'm suggesting, having the dumbbells parallel and your hands facing each other, that's the general rule of thumb. But maybe like you have some shoulder injury or some pre-existing joint pain or some mobility issues. And if that's the case and you find having your hands in a different position feels better, then obviously do what feels better for you. But if you're asking just from a general question point of view, I would keep the palms parallel. Just go with that. I think that would be the best route for most people. Another thing I want to mention too, sometimes I find flies, for me personally, when I do them, doing them on an incline, I actually find that angle feels better than doing them flat. Like when I do them flat, sometimes it irritates my shoulder joint. But when I'm in that incline position, I get a good stretch and I find it doesn't bother my shoulders. So something you might want to try as well, like just adjusting the height of the bench. A slight incline, I sometimes actually feel it more comfortable than doing them flat. All right, let's see what else we got there. Swire number one, Lee. Appreciate it. Thank you much. And Jose saying thank you. You're welcome. See what else we got there. Lee is saying, I have a strongman competition in 2 weeks. It's 5 events over the course of about 6 hours. Is loading up with carbs a few days before a good idea to help with energy on the day? I certainly would. I wouldn't want to be going into any type of strength or performance competition in a carb depleted state. Now, as far as loading, what I'm trying to ask here is, when do you normally feel your strongest and function your best? Like chances are it's probably going to be when you have adequate topped up glycogen. Now, do you have to go through the whole carb loading, like the traditional carb loading? Maybe not. Like I'll give you an example. Like when I do a cycling race, right? Like I actually did a cycling race last weekend. And all I did was the day before made sure to eat, good solid meals, make sure I'm getting carbs with every meal. I was definitely in a calorie surplus the day before. Same with the day of, right? But I didn't go crazy with it. I didn't like days in advance, start slamming back a bunch of extra food, because I find if I overeat too much, kind of makes me feel a bit heavy and sluggish. And I don't want that. But I don't want to be going in there in a carb depleted state either. So for me, I don't deplete carbohydrates anyway. Like I'm regularly eating carbohydrates with my meals. Like I try to have a well-balanced diet with protein, carbs, and healthy fats. But I just bump up the carbohydrates and bump up the calories in total a day or so before to make sure that my glycogen stores are topped up. And another thing that I do as well is I taper my training. So the combination of more food, less training, you're consuming more and you're not burning as much, so that you will naturally top up your glycogen stores. So that's how I would achieve the quote unquote carb loaded state. But I don't go crazy eating a ton of stuff. Like you hear some people like, oh, I got to load up on tons of pasta and stuff like that the day before or whatever, or days before. Or even the old school bodybuilding approach too, where you carb depleted and carb load. Like I wouldn't go through any of that stuff. Just make sure that you're in a surplus a day or two before, and taper your training, and that should be adequate, right? You want to kind of like tip the scale in favor of a little marginal gain there, but you don't want to go crazy extremes, because I find anytime you start going to extremes, it can sometimes backfire. I mean, it may help, but sometimes too much of extreme one way or the other can kind of, it's like pulling the rubber band back too far and then having it snap back and rebound and go the opposite direction. So we just want to make sure that you're going into the strongman competition feeling good and not feeling depleted. Okay. The big one here, I think that's going to have the biggest impact is literally tapering your training. I mean, again, I'm sure you know what you need to do for your own training purposes. Like I know back when I was doing powerlifting, I've never done strongman, so I can't speak directly to strongman, but when I was doing powerlifting, the general rule of thumb was you'd probably do like your last squat deadlift workout a week out from the meet. Maybe your last bench press workout was 5 to 6 days out from the meet. And then those remaining days, you would literally just rest, maybe do a little bit of mobility or some active, like not even heavy training at all, but just like some mobility or joint work or whatever, just keep things loose and limber. But there would be no heavy lifting for at least 5 days before, so that you allow everything to rest, recover, and just feel good. That's the way I did it. And I'd always feel that I was at my best. With cycling is a little different, right? But, with strongman, I'm sure it's probably even different again. So you got to figure out how to taper your training accordingly so that you're feeling your best. But, don't go to the extremes is all I'm saying here. What else we got there? We have Tim joining in, still here. Always enjoy catching your lives. Appreciate what you're doing. Appreciate the comment, and thanks for the support. Glad to have you joining in. Let's see. Hello. I read that bigger muscles may take up to 90 hours to recover. So why are we exercising 5 days a week? Well, should I wait until all DOMS stops? Okay, multiple questions there. It depends. And first off, how long recovery takes depends on how hard you train, how much volume you do, your fitness level, how dig you deep yourself into a rut after that workout. If you just do an easy workout, you could probably literally recover within a day or two afterwards and be totally back to normal. If you go in there and do a mega workout, super high volume, really high intensity, yeah, it might take, up to 90 hours to recover. It depends. Like, how do you define the workout? Right? Like, that's the thing. Like, is your workout 5 sets per muscle group, or is it 25 sets per muscle group? Right? Are you pushing to every set to failure and beyond, or are you stopping with reps in reserve? Like, all these variables come into play. So you just can't cookie cutter and say it takes 90 hours to recover. Like, if I do a set of push-ups, is it going to take me, 4 days to recover from that set of push-ups? No, it's not. But if I go in there and I'm doing some crazy hardcore chest workout and I'm doing multiple exercises, 30 sets total, training to failure on a lot of those exercises, yeah, it very well could take, multiple days to recover from that workout. So, you got to look at the bigger picture and take things with a grain of salt, and not just say, oh, read on the internet it takes 90 hours, so got to be 90 hours for everybody in every workout. No, it depends on the individual and the situation. Right? I actually made in one of our recent podcasts. It wasn't the last one. It was the previous podcast, I believe it was. We went into more detail talking about the growth and the stimulation, the recovery and the growth cycle. And it's actually if you go to the YouTube channel now, I took a clip of that from the podcast and made a separate video. It explains, when you go into the gym, how you stimulate the muscles, you break them down, and then you have to go through the recovery and then eventually the growth process. So it's always stimulate, rest, recover, grow, stimulate, rest, recover, grow. And if you do shortchange that, obviously you're going to shortchange the recovery and the growth process. So if you want more context, I would highly recommend you check out that video. And it's currently the featured video up on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. So you can go check that one out. Let's see. We have Neil joining us. This is the Bulgarian split squat is my favorite exercise, and it's hard to progress on heavier weight. Currently at 50 pounds each hand, doing 8 reps, 2-second negative pause, then up. Need your help. That's not really a problem. Not all exercises have to have that weekly progressive overload. I mean, if you're making progress with that, and what I mean by progress is like you're feeling the muscles work, you're taking it through the full range of motion, like you can feel the workout. You don't have to be going up 5 pounds every week, right? Like, once you get to a certain level with your training, a lot of strength in certain exercises is going to level off. Like, when you're in that beginner newbie phase, that's when, you're going to add the 5 pounds to most big compound exercises fairly frequently. Like every week or two, you probably be adding an extra 5 pounds. But eventually, it's going to get to the point where it's going to start to cap and level off. And you may keep the same weight for weeks or months, or who knows. Like, I'll give you an example. Like for me, with some exercises, especially like isolation exercises, I keep the same weights and I have for quite a while. And I'm okay with that. Like side lateral raises or dumbbell flies and stuff. I mean, I'm not going up 5 pounds every single week with those. Heck no. It's like some of those exercises, you keep the same working weight and you really focus on working the muscle. And when those 50 pounds weights that you're using, so you're holding 50 pounds, when that feels light and you realize like I can go more, this is obviously too easy, I'm not getting a good workout with this weight, then you go to the next heavy set of dumbbells. But for now, if you're getting a good workout and you're enjoying it, obviously you said it's your favorite exercise, then keep going. Like you don't always have to be just piling on weight. And the thing is doing that exercise with the steady state weight and just getting better, like honing that technique, honing that pattern over and over and over again, that is still building strength, right? This is something I actually heard from Pavel Tatsuli, the kind of like the guy who brought kettlebells to the mainstream world in recent years. He was talking about on a podcast, I believe. I've heard him say it multiple times, but I believe it was a podcast I was listening to with Andrew Huberman. They were talking about steady state strength training. And it's brilliant the way he was describing it. And it's like, you don't get stronger when you add the weight. Like, let's just say you're lifting 50 pounds and then you go to 55. Well, going to 55 isn't what built your strength. It's repetitively doing the 50s or the sub-maximal weights is what built the strength in order to allow you to go to the next heaviest set of weights. So a lot of people think, well, I got to keep adding weight in order to get stronger. But it's mastering the sub-maximal weights, using that weight over and over and over again. It's known as steady state strength training, where you're keeping the weight the same, but you're getting better at it. And I'll give you another example to really drive this point home. Think of gymnasts when they're doing their exercises, and they're like, you think of a gymnast who's doing bar work or ring work or something like that. They're lifting their body weight. Their body weight is not getting heavier, right? But they're doing it over and over and over again, and they're mastering their body weight. They're getting better technique, and they're getting better mind-muscle connection and better control and tempo and control, and being able to slow it down and just really master and build that exercise. And in doing so, they're getting stronger. Even though they're not always adding weight, they're building strength through steady state strength training, using their body weight and just getting better at it. So the same thing can apply here. You don't always have to be adding weight to make progress. You can use sub-maximal weights or your current weight, whatever it is you're using, and get really good at that weight and get stronger with it. So this isn't necessarily a problem. I mean, the fact that you're doing it, controlling the negative, pausing and all that, that's good. Keep doing it and just get better at it. Have more mind muscle control and better form, and even slow down the cadence further. Like there's other ways to make progress here versus just always adding weight. And then eventually you'll get to the point where maybe it is too easy and you do need to go heavier. Or maybe you could try other variations. Like instead of having dumbbells at your side, you could probably try using a barbell, or you could try using a weighted vest or some other variations. But you don't always have to add weight. And quite honestly, when I do a lot of lunges and split squats and different exercises like that, very often I'm even sometimes using body weight and using it as like a high rep finisher at the end of a workout, like walking lunges with body weight at the end of a workout, or step ups with body weight. Now, sometimes I will, hold dumbbells or add weight or whatever, but I mean, even body weight alone, you can get a killer workout with it. Let's see what else we have here. Well, it's just a second. Now I'm going to hide that one. We got John. Thank you so much for the support. Take Trish and Harvey for an ice cream on me. Thanks for all you do for us. There we go. Well, we could probably take you up on that. And you know what? Last week, we actually did go out for ice cream. And I want to share this because this is something now that summer is just around the corner. People are going to be wanting to go out for treats and ice cream and stuff like that. And I want to share how we actually uh, enjoy moments like this without blowing the diet. Right. So Harvey and his friend Christopher, they wanted to go for ice cream last Sunday. And we said, let's do it. We went over to the ice cream shop and, you know, Harvey ordered what he wanted. He ordered a regular ice cream cone. And myself and Trish, we first off, I said, I'm not going to have anything. I'm cool. I'm not going to bother. But she said, well, how about we share one? And I said, okay, let's do that. So we ordered a kid size ice cream and shared it. And that was enough for me to enjoy going over to the ice cream shop, enjoy the family time and the experience. And I still got a little taste of ice cream, enough to kind of satisfy the craving, but it wasn't overkill. And I mean, as far as the calories consumed, I mean, I'm sure it's probably, a couple hundred or a few hundred calories. I don't know exactly what the calorie count of the ice cream is, but it's a kid's size ice cream split between two people. And that's what we had. And that was enough. So you can still enjoy these moments without blowing your diet, right? Because I know back in the day, whenever we went out for ice cream or stuff like this, it was the old school thoughts like, okay, well, dad's got to get a large, mom's going to get a medium, and baby's going to get a small. Now we basically we all get a small. In this case, Harvey had his small, and mom and me had a small between us, and it was enough. It was enough for me to enjoy the company, the time, the experience of going over to the ice cream shop. Because I mean, most of the time, like, you're just doing it for the experience. It's not necessarily to just go and physically eat ice cream. I mean, if it was just that, heck, go to the grocery store, just buy a tub of ice cream and bury your face in it. But it's the experience is what we're going for, right? Just the fun of it. And you can do that and still make it work without blowing your diet, right? So these are little ways how I get to enjoy the process and still make it work. And I mean, that's something you can try. Next time you go to the ice cream shop, try a small one, right? Or a size smaller than you're used to. Like, how can you make it better than it was before, right? That's one of the key things. I always, when I'm talking to my coaching students and stuff, we don't have to go for this all or nothing extreme approach. It's just like, how can we dial it up a notch and make it better than it was before, right? So like, if you normally go and you got to get the large ice cream, how about you get a medium ice cream, right? Better than it was before. You're still enjoying ice cream, but it's less damage done. And then eventually dial it back to a small ice cream, right? Better than it was before, less damage done. And what you'll find, especially when it comes to fat loss, a lot of the process, it's not being perfect. It's just damage control. And if you can minimize the damage for when you do go off the rails, so to speak, then it's less likely to cause any major setbacks, and it's going to be easier for you to get back on track afterwards. All right, let's see what else we got there. I lost my spot in the chat there. Okay, we're talking about Bulgarian split squats. We got that one covered. We got Jeffrey joining in. Welcome, Jeffrey. Glad to have you joining in. Sergio's joining us. Hey, Lee. Hope all is well. I've been going on daily walks for the past 2 months, and I've lost a significant amount of weight. Congratulations. Good stuff. What are your thoughts on interval running? Been thinking of including it. Well, you can certainly try it, but I'm just going to kind of give you a heads up or ask you some questions, I should say. What's your main goal? Like, do you want to be a runner? Is that your main goal? If it is, we can certainly start incorporating some running. Like, if the thought of maybe in the back of your mind, you're thinking, hey, well, I'd like to run a 5K race or a 10K race, or, maybe sometime down the road, I'd like to do a marathon. Like, that's in the back of your mind. That's kind of, you can visually see that in your future. Then yeah, obviously you want to start including some running. But if your goal is just weight loss and you really couldn't care less about running a race or becoming a runner, then you don't have to run. And like back when I was competing in bodybuilding, I didn't run. I mean, I still don't run. I just personally, I don't like running. I mean, I don't feel comfortable when I run. I find it hard on the knees, hard on the ankles and hips, and I get shin splints. And it's just, now I'm sure if I worked with a running coach, I could improve my running technique and all that kind of stuff, but it's not important to me. Like for me, my primary form of cardio that I really enjoy is cycling. That's what I do. I mean, I do cycling races and I really enjoy that. I also supplement that with walking and cardio machines at the gym, hiking, but I don't like running, right? That's not a primary form of cardio because I just find that impact is hard on the body. But the lower impact cardio, I enjoy. So, I mean, I got ripped for multiple bodybuilding shows. I mean, every year that I competed in bodybuilding, my primary form of fat burning cardio was walking. And I would do an hour of walking a day as kind of like my benchmark. And I found that that worked really well. I didn't do any running. So if your goal is just fat loss, do you need to include running? No. You just diet, cardio, strength training, you can make it work. You don't have to run. But if you want to become a runner and that's something you'd like to try, then yeah, you can. And if you are going to run, how I would recommend it is build into it very gradually. So like literally walk for 5 minutes, run for 30 seconds. Walk for 5 minutes, run for 30 seconds. And then over time, you build up the amount of running that you do. So walk for 5 minutes, run for a minute. Walk for 5, run for a minute. And then eventually, walk for 5, run for 2 minutes. Like you get the idea. Like you just want to gradually build up the volume of running, but don't go out there and say, oh, I'm going to suffer through a 5K run right off the bat, because you're going to be in agony. Like your knees, your ankles, your hips, your shin splints, everything else is going to be agony. Build it up in small increments and like literally run for seconds at a time, like 30 seconds. Or if you're out like running down the road, maybe like, hey, I'm going to run to the next telephone pole, something like that. And then I'm just going to walk for a few minutes and then run, 100 yards or whatever, 100 feet. Like break it up in little tiny chunks and then just gradually dial it up bit by bit by bit, and be very conservative in that progressive overload, because running is hard on the body, especially if you've never done it before, especially if you've got a little bit of extra weight you're carrying. It's going to be hard on the body. And most people who are good runners, they tend to be on the leaner, lighter side. Like I'm just thinking people I know personally who are good runners, they're all under 200 pounds. They're lean, they're trim. Very few runners are heavy, like 200 plus pounds, and can run effortlessly. Like usually the bigger guys suffer. Now, of course, there's going to be exceptions to the rule, but generally speaking, the best runners are going to be lean and light. So if you're a heavy set person, you may want to, check out other avenues to lose the weight versus running. Right. So that's my thoughts on it. But it really depends on you and your ultimate goals here. Okay. What do you think of MRT for athletes and weight loss? MRT, I'm not sure what MRT is. There's so many GD acronyms these days. Right? I get bogged down in acronyms. What is MRT? MRT meaning mass rapid transit. No, that's probably not it. I don't know. MRT. I'm just Google searching. See if I can find it quickly here. Weight loss. MRT weight loss. Metabolic resistance training. Is that what you're referring to? Maybe it is. A lot of this is just fancy ways of reinventing the wheel, because metabolic resistance training is basically just like circuit training, or I'm assuming that's what you're referring to. Now, if you're still there watching this, please clarify in the chat what it is you're referring to. But if it's metabolic resistance training, that's just a fancy way of saying circuit training. Like that's as old as dirt. That's as old as the barbell itself. Like it's not anything new. But this is something that just irks me when it comes to fitness in general, is people constantly have to rename and try and make the same old shit sound new and exciting, right? Like, oh, well, this is this new style of diet, or this new style of training, or give it some weird funky name. It's the same old shit that we've been doing for decades or more. Like it's nothing new. So if that's what it is, metabolic resistance training, again, that's just basically circuit training. Can it work for weight loss? If you follow it up with a good diet and you're in a calorie deficit, absolutely. And for that matter, any type of strength training that you do can help with weight loss, provided it's followed up with a good diet. Like you could follow a powerlifting program. If you're following it with a calorie restricted diet and you're in a calorie deficit, that could be a fat loss program. It could be a bodybuilding program. You could be doing a bro split. You could be doing a full body workout. You could be doing an upper lower or push pull legs or any combination of whatever. If you're following it up with a calorie restricted diet and you're in a calorie deficit, it can be a weight loss program. Vice versa, if you're following it up with a calorie surplus, it could be a mass building program. So weight loss or weight gain really comes into calories in versus calories out, right? Like that's ultimately the bottom line. Now, I mean, as you get further down the rabbit hole and you become more advanced, we can manipulate those variables and help to optimize your nutrition with nutrient timing and optimizing the macro ratios and this kind of stuff, and working with your metabolism. Because sometimes if people go on an extreme calorie restricted diet for a prolonged period of time, you can literally slow down your metabolism. That's when carbohydrate cycling and strategic refeeds and different things like that can help to speed it up again. But bottom line, I mean, if keep it very surface level, if you want to lose weight, that's your main goal, you have to focus on being in a calorie deficit, right? That is the number one thing. The actual workout that you follow, I mean, if it helps you to achieve that calorie deficit, then yes, it's going to be beneficial. But the problem is sometimes people train very intense and push themselves in the gym, and it increases their appetite and it makes them want to eat more, thus canceling out the calorie deficit. And if that's the case, then that's not necessarily going to help with weight loss. So sometimes when it comes to the strength training, less is some moderate, I should say. I was going to say less is more, but moderate is actually better, because you don't necessarily want to push yourself to the limit where you increases your appetite and now you can't control your appetite and you're in a calorie surplus from that. I've had that happen before. Like sometimes when I'm doing big cycling events and stuff and really pushing it, sure, you're burning massive amounts of calories, but it stimulates your appetite to want to eat massive amounts of calories. So, I mean, you could be basically stuck at a fat loss plateau at a very high activity level, right? So if your main goal is weight loss, creating that calorie deficit is the number one thing, regardless of the type of training you're following. All right, so let's see what else we got there. Like I said, we'll clue this. We're going to do for another 10 minutes or so, and then I'm going to get ready and clue this up, because I have a family dinner to get to. Let's see. We have Robert's joining in. I started doing compound lifts and really enjoy it for a change. Good stuff. Awesome. Glad to hear it. And with your workouts, I mean, compound lifts, isolation, machine, I mean, there's a time and a place for all of it. I know some people like to say like it's either or, but when I'm with my own training, when I'm working with coaching students, we incorporate a combination of all of the above. The free weight compound, machine compound, free weight isolation, machine isolation, body weight. Like it all has a time and a place in there in a productive, well-structured program. David saying, great channel. Just saying, Lee. Thank you, sir. You're welcome. Glad you appreciate it. Let's see. If I may ask, I can do weighted pull-ups with 45 pounds for 10 reps. My dream is the one-hand pull-up. Please guide me. Many thanks. You know what? I've never done a one-handed pull-up before. Not the true one-handed pull-up. Now, there's different variations. Like sometimes people will grab the bar with one hand and grab the wrist, and so you're still kind of using two hands, but only one hand is holding the bar. But I've never done a proper one-arm pull-up before. I've done one-arm push-ups, but never done a one-arm pull-up. And Honestly, I don't think I ever will because I've had some injuries that really limit me in those areas. Like I've torn a muscle in my back, I've torn both biceps, and I just know if I start pushing the extremes with that, it's probably not going to turn out well. So a regular two-handed pull-up with body weight is fine with me. And if I can do that and stay injury-free, I'm happy. So the reason I'm sharing that is because honestly, I'm not the best person to advise on a one arm or one hand pull up because I've never actually done it before. Right. I mean, I could probably give you some suggestions or guidelines, but the best thing I would recommend in that um, would be do what one of my top coaching students has done, Jeff Samatero, my co-host with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding podcast. He really wanted to master body weight exercises, calisthenics, and he actually went to a calisthenics gym and hired a calisthenics coach. And I totally encouraged and recommended when he told me about that and said, Nick, this is something that I want to pursue. I said, absolutely, because I mean, sure, I've done body weight exercises, your regular push-ups and pull-ups and squats and lunges and ab and core work and stuff, but I'm not a master of calisthenics. And once you start going down that rabbit hole, there's so much that you can do, especially if you're getting into like gymnastic ring work and different mobility things and rotational exercises and handstands and all the different types of calisthenic exercises, right? I mean, you start going on YouTube and just search for calisthenics, you can see like it's a totally different world of fitness outside of the typical weight training gym bro world that a lot of like that's my background, right? As a bodybuilder, that's what can relate to. But once you start going down the calisthenics route, like that's a totally different avenue. And he was interested in that, wanted to pursue it. And I said, absolutely. I mean, like, if you want to get good at something, find someone who's doing what you want to do and learn from them. So he did that. And Jeff has made incredible progress with calisthenics stuff, like being able to master muscle ups on gymnastic rings and different, again, I don't know all the different names of them, but different types of flips and rotational moves on the gymnastic rings and mastering different handstand variations and stuff like that, and L sits and different, I mean, he's really gotten quite good at it, but he did that by working with a professional calisthenics coach and actually joining a calisthenics gym so he could be in that environment. So if that's something you're interested in, I'd recommend looking up a calisthenics gym in your area and consider, going there and hiring a coach. Even if you just do buy a block of sessions, like maybe, they offer like do 20 sessions or something with a calisthenics coach, and that would pay off wonders in terms of helping you to improve your body weight and calisthenic exercises. That's what I'd recommend if I was in that situation myself. That's what I would do, I should say. Jeffrey is saying, if you aren't feeling the lactic acid working in your muscles, does that mean you aren't training hard enough? Not necessarily. There's a lot of definitions of hard. For example, like you could do heavy, low rep work and not really get much of a lactic acid burn, but still train very hard. Like if you look at like a powerlifting workout or Olympic lifting or strongman work, like sometimes they don't get a lot of lactic acid burn. Again, it depends on the exercises and what they're doing, but you think if you're doing like a heavy set of low rep squats or bench presses or deadlifts or something similar, there's not going to be a lot of lactic acid burn, but you could still train extremely hard. Generally, where you get the most burn is when you're doing a lot of time under tension. So higher repetitions, higher volume, lower rest between sets. That's what's going to accumulate that lactic acid. And it's not right, wrong, good, or bad. It depends on what it is you're trying to train for. And there's three basic energy systems, right? We have the ATP, the adenosine triphosphate. That's your explosive power. So that's the heavy low rep training, the power lifter 1 rep max bench, right? ATP. Lactic acid is the high volume muscular endurance work. So high volume push-ups, high volume body weight exercises, you could even take it into like a wrestler wrestling on the mat, or a grappler, or a boxer, or someone who's doing high volume, but for in the 2 to 3, like a boxer doing a round of boxing, like that's lactic acid primarily. Then when you get into the aerobic, that's cycling or walking or long duration cardio, something that is going to be done for like an hour plus. Right. So those are now there's a carryover. It's not like one turns on and one turns off, or it's just, there's always a carryover between the 3 energy systems, but which one are you primarily working that depends on the type of exercise. So if you're doing like heavy low rep, that's ATP, high volume, high rep, time under tension work, that's lactic acid. And then of course, if you're doing more of the endurance cardio, then that's the aerobic energy system. So if you want to feel more of the lactic acid burn, then you want to do more of the time under tension. But if you're not feeling that lactic acid burn, it doesn't necessarily mean that the workout's not productive, because you probably are just working another energy system, right? And another thing too that can come into play with this too is your diet. Like I'll give you an example. Like if you're on a very low carbohydrate diet, you're probably not going to get much of a pump or much of a burn, but you could still be training very hard. I mean, I used to notice that when if I was ever on like a low calorie or low carb cutting diet, sometimes you always feel flat and depleted, and it's like it's hard to get a pump. You could still be training hard, still be training productive, but you're not going to have that fullness. But then as soon as you carb load, or you eat more carbohydrates, so you have adequate glycogen in your system, then you would get that pump and that burn in the muscles. So that might be another variable that you want to consider as well, right? But if you want to like elaborate on the situation there, I mean, I might be able to give you more context. Like, what is it you're training for? What type of workout are you doing where you're not feeling that lactic acid burn, right? If you want to elaborate on it, we could go deeper down the rabbit hole, if you will. Working out with a subscriber. I have sent you a couple of email requests, but I've not yet heard from you. Is there a better way to get in touch with you? I actually responded to your email the other day. I don't know if it got sent to your spam folder, but if I'm not mistaken, Adolaf, you're living in Mexico. I'm living in Canada. So I'm not traveling to Mexico anytime soon, unless you're traveling to Newfoundland, Canada anytime in the future. I mean, I've worked out with followers before. I mean, I've done that. People have said, hey, I'm going to be in your town, or I'm going to be whatever. Can we meet up for a workout? And I've done that before. So if you're planning on traveling here, let me know. We could probably make something happen. But like Mexico and Canada are like, it's not like a hop, skip, and a jump away. Like that's quite a distance. So just being honest, I'm not planning on heading to Mexico anytime soon for a workout, right? Unless you're planning on heading to Newfoundland, Canada. If you are, right, let me know. And I did send you an email. Just search for Lee at Lee Hayward in your email, and it should be there. Because I remember, I knew he sent me a couple emails, and I responded to each and every one of them. Right, so it might be getting filtered out in your promotions folder or your spam folder or somewhere there, but I did respond to those emails. All right. Donald is joining us. How would you suggest a police officer train? It's ironic. I was actually training with a couple of guys who were getting ready for the police depot training for the RCMP. And one of the things, this is literally how we structured the workouts, is looked at the fitness test that the police officers have to do. And we made sure to duplicate those exercises in our training, and then also do some other supplementary exercises to help with general strength and conditioning as well. But to give you an example, like one of the exercises they have to do is a sled push. So we did lots of sled pushes. They had to do farmer's walks. So we did farmer's walks, had to do push-ups, carrying like weighted, have to like load weighted objects into the back of a truck. That was another one on the fitness test. So just like lifting sandbags and kettlebells and different things like that. What were some other ones that they had to do on the fitness test? Run a 5K, right? In under 30 minutes. That was another one. So obviously training for the cardiovascular and the conditioning side of things. So how I train a police officer specifically, this is assuming someone is going to do the fitness test to become a police officer, as we look at the exact exercises that they're going to have on that fitness test. And we obviously want to duplicate those in training, and then also add in some other ones to make a well-balanced program and work it accordingly. But it's a fun way of training. I actually like that, because it's really a well-rounded strength and conditioning type of workout, because it's not all about, like, it's not one rep max powerlifting work, and it's not all just endurance work. It's the combination. It's really muscular endurance and overall conditioning and durability, right? And just good functional training. And I actually enjoy that kind of training myself. I do a lot of it, but that's how we worked around the police officer training. That's Eagle Eye John saying, I hope to be back in training after 7 weeks after my hernia operations. Muscles have gone thinner, though. Yeah, I can certainly appreciate that. If you've taken 7 weeks off training, you are going to lose some muscle. Like, as the old adage goes, if you don't use it, you lose it. Absolutely. But the good news is when you get back to training again, and you get the okay from your doctor and everything's good to go, obviously you'll have to start back, at just like a beginner all over again. Like, you have to take it easy, build up your strength and conditioning and your work capacity. But the good news is it's easier to regain lost strength and fitness than it is to gain it in the first place. So you will get back to your previous level of strength and conditioning much faster the second time around than it took you to get there initially. So again, you say, like, you took 7 weeks off. It's quite possible, within 7 weeks or so of consistent training, you may be back to where you left off, right? It's not going to, like, if it took you 5 years to build up to your previous level of strength and conditioning, it's not going to take you 5 years to get back there, right? Literally, if you've had 7 weeks off, you'll probably be back there again within 7 weeks or so, assuming you can train properly and there's no complications with your hernia operation and everything else. And it shouldn't be. Like, I know a lot of guys who've had hernia. It's a pretty straightforward operation, again, depending on the type of hernia and how big it was and whatnot. But once they repair it, you should be good to go and get back to normal training again. Lee, has anyone ever said you look like him in the wheelchair out of the Scary Movie 2, but a hench version? Haha. No, and I don't know who you're talking about. I don't know who him in the wheelchair at a Scary Movie 2 is, right? But I don't know. I'll take it as a compliment, I guess. Yeah. What's the best? This is me asking myself a question, apparently. What's the best frequency for max muscle? I tell you what, go check out the video that I outlined where I broke down the general workout recovery cycle. That will help to answer that question in a lot more detail about the stimulate, the rest, recover, and growth process, right? And that will put things in perspective. So again, that's a video. It's the featured video up on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel now. And it was a clip taken from our podcast, Going from Beginner to Advanced. What's your opinion on BPC 157 for healing muscle tears, etc.? I haven't used it, so I don't have any personal experience with it, but just through hearing from the grapevine and stuff of people who have used it, there seems to be some promise to it. Now, again, I can't offer you any more than what you've probably already seen if you've been doing your own research on this, or your own Googling on this, I should say, because I have not used it personally. So again, I can't offer any practical real world insights on it, other than it seems to be promising. One thing that I've noticed, like, I've just been looking it up, this stuff is freaking expensive, right? It's not a cheap product by any stretch. And you definitely want to be careful, because this is in that gray area, research chemical type of thing. So if anyone's going down this route, you want to make sure that you're getting it from legit sources, because it's such a gray area, if you will. These peptides and stuff like that. and you don't know if it's legit or not. And obviously, there's a lot of potential for people to fake this stuff to make a quick buck, right? So, I just caution you on that. If you are going down that road, make sure that you are, savvy on and make sure that it is a legit source for it and whatever. But it seems to have some promise. I mean, like I've known people personally who have used it, and not only from a muscle and injury point of view, but also from a gut health point of view. Like apparently, it is really good for healing gut health and digestive issues as well. So certainly, as more information and stuff and it becomes more mainstream, I would like to certainly learn more about it as well. Sergio, thanks for the interval running advice. Sole purpose was to burn more calories. Current weight is 178, weight goal is 165-ish. For you to lose another 13 pounds, you don't necessarily have to do running unless it is something that you want to do, right? I think you could still try it. I mean, who knows? You might enjoy it, right? But as far as hitting the weight loss goals, it's really just the diet and the training in general, right? Like if you did weight training, walking, and followed it up with solid diet, you will hit your weight loss goals. You don't need to run to lose weight. Like that's a common misconception. Like a lot of people think, well, walking doesn't work. Walking's too easy. Walking's too simple. I got to run. No, like sometimes once you start pushing yourself harder, that increases the risk of injury. It also increases your appetite, increases the stress on your body. So when you're pushing higher intensity cardio, higher impact cardio, it's going to take away from the recovery from your weight training workouts. Walking is beautiful in that sense because it's a gentle form of exercise that you can do without beating up your body. So you can do it in addition to weight training. It's a nice supplementary calorie burner, and I find it can help to tip the ratio in favor of max fat burning with minimal setbacks. And that's why walking was my cardio of choice when I was getting ready for bodybuilding shows. The leanest I've ever gotten was doing walking as my cardio. Let's see what else. I'm going to get ready to clue this up shortly because we've been well over the hour already. Once I get going, I got the gift of gab here, right? What's the best body part to train to look good in clothes for a man? Losing fat in general, if I had to say that, because if you're carrying extra body fat, you can't hide that, right? I mean, I know people try to wear clothes to hide it, but if you want to look good in clothes or look good naked, I mean, like the single best thing I think you could do is just lose fat. I mean, a lot of people probably have decent muscle development for the most part, but it's just covered in a layer of fat. Like, for example, like everybody has abs. It's just those abs are covered in fat. So if the single best thing that someone could do to look better, I think, is to lose fat. Now, that's for the majority of people. Now, if you're severely underweight, you're the typical 98-pound weakling, like you've seen in the Charles Atlas comics back in the day, obviously someone would want to pack on some meat onto their bones. But nowadays, we don't see too many scrawny, skinny people. Like you go out in public, right? Go to your local Walmart and just look around, or go to your local mall, or go to your local anywhere and look around. Most people are fat and out of shape, right? So the single best thing that they can do to look better is lose the fat, right? That's the simple answer. I mean, obviously we can go much deeper down that rabbit hole, but if you ask for the single best thing, lose the fat. Let's see. Tim saying, Lee killed it today. Seriously, thank you for your time and energy. To everyone listening, don't just hear, apply, execute, and level up. Awesome. I appreciate that, Tim. And you know what? With that being said, we're going to get ready and clue it up because, as I mentioned earlier, I am invited out to a family dinner tonight. So I'm going to clue this up and get ready to head on over to that. In the meantime, I know there was several questions and comments came through here that I haven't gotten around to yet. Right, we even have one coming through there from Brother Hakeem. Hello, how do I get over carbophobia? I tell you what, the simple thing that I can help you with right there, if you have a question, and I'm going to encourage this to Mr. Brother Hakeem, reach out to me and we can have a chat through email or messenger. Right. That's the single best thing to do. And I mean, I have my contact information down in the description below this live video. So if you're following me over on Facebook, you can message me through there. If you're following me over on Instagram, you can message me through there as well, like Facebook Messenger or Instagram Messenger. We can chat. If you're not using social media like that, you can send me an email, and I have my email address down there as well. And we can certainly discuss your goals, your situation, and help you to come up with a realistic action plan that's right for you in terms of diet and training and any specific challenges that you would like to have help with. So if you didn't get your question answered today, you can certainly do that. Reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to have a chat with you and support you with your fitness goals. So in the meantime, guys, have yourself a fantastic day and a fantastic weekend. And I look forward to chatting to you next week. Same time, we're going live at 5 on Fridays with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat. Take care. Over and out.